What happened at the worst party you've ever been to? I went to a friend's graduation party after high school. I wasn't great friends with him, but I figured I would stop by with my GF because he was nice enough to invite me. The party was so done up. Tables full of food, streamers, confetti, all that shit. And my girlfriend and I were the only ones there. I felt awful. His parents clearly went all out to celebrate it, and it was so uncomfortable being one of 5 people there, including him and his parents. I felt awful for him. We stayed for hours out of pity, and I just kind of made small talk. Super depressing. This is why I never throw parties for myself. But good on you for actually showing up. You kept that from being the worst day ever, even if it was super awkward. I just make sure people RSVP and hold them to it. Ain't no one else gonna be throwing any parties for me. Ain't no party like a pity party, 'cause the pity party won't stop. Sad face. Well, at least it's a small comfort knowing they did a very nice thing. Imagine if you hadn't turned up, though. I'm sweating from reading this. The floor collapsed under the weight of a throng of jumping freshmen. I'm sorry you had to party with freshmen. I went back to my college town a few weeks ago during a business trip and went to a party one of my friends was throwing as her pre-graduation party, which I gathered meant one last party with all her underclassmen friends who weren't staying in town until graduation. The place was filled with underage kids who didn't know how to pace themselves, and most of them were trashed by 10:30. All of a sudden, everything gets quiet, and people are urgently whispering, "Cops, cops," because the cops were at the front door. I felt the chill of, oh god, they're going to catch me drinking and arresting me. Then, every college student has probably felt at one time or another. Then I remember that I'm 25, drinking a beer inside a house, talking to my friends who are also all over 21. Nothing at all illegal about that. We just kept talking and were like rocks in the steady stream of wasted freshmen and sophomores flowing around us to the back door to get out. Edit. Yes, everyone, I get it. Occasionally cops will bust you, even if you're over 21 when you're drinking with unders. I was aware of that concern at the time, but in this instance, all the police told the host that everyone inside needed to clear out and go somewhere else. The party was over. They waited until most people had left, and they went to their next call. Saturday nights are busy. They weren't looking to arrest everyone or write tickets, just to appease the neighbors who would call and the noise complaint. Let's see. My sister's birthday was in the middle of the school holiday, and for her 7th birthday, she had a party that no one turned up to. Turns out, our mother put the wrong date on the invite, so a lot of her friends had tried to come over that day before, whilst we were out. That's better than the alternative where the date was correct and flat out no one showed up. Wrong date on the invitation sounds like an excuse I'd use in this situation. Actually, I remember that from my old work. We used to have like this place where they threw parties in the upstairs, and there was one time this little kid had thrown a party, and they had to pay like quite a bit of money to throw parties there, because I worked at a place that was a pretty popular place for parties, and I always felt so bad for the kids when no one ever showed up for them. I only saw it happen a few times in like my 5 years there, but it happens. Some girl apparently had made out with a guy who wasn't her boyfriend before leaving. Someone at the party tells him via text, and a little while later someone is kicking down the door. He barges in waving a gun around, screaming, "Which one of you MFers made out with my girl?" People are ducking, scurrying away, and I'm just standing there thinking, if this is how I die, I'm going to be pissed. Host knew him, quickly pushes him out the door. I've never understood this mentality. Why wouldn't he blame his girlfriend? She knows who her boyfriend is. Because some people have a mindset that the other person must have tricked them into doing it due to a sunk cost fallacy, which will come up with the same way to justify any negative action their SO does. Oh, I never thought of it that way. I've often seen people who get cheated on when they say, I can't leave this relationship after I've invested X amount of time. Damn that other person who hooked up with my SO. That makes a lot of sense. This is exactly like a joke I heard once, except the girlfriend is sleeping around, and when the guy comes in waving the gun and asks who it was, someone says, "Man, you don't have enough bullets." Hilarious, especially if you like getting shot. High school, late 80s, at an outside party with a bonfire to celebrate the end of the school year. Some numbnuts throw a glass bottle of beer into the fire. About 20 minutes later, the bottle explodes and shoots a stream of boiling beer all over a girl's crotch and legs. Ambulance was called. I believe she required several skin grafts over several months. I can still remember her shrilling scream and then her passing out. Good Lord, that sounds frightening. Yes, that sounds terrible. Holy crap. Since many of these stories are about drunk shitting, puking, and other horrible things, allow me to lighten the mood with some comedy. For one unlucky tween partygoer, this is probably the worst party ever. So, my pal had a birthday sleepover. We were in 8th or 9th grade, I think. Street Fighter 2 had just come out for the Super Nintendo, so that was basically all we did. SNES, I think that's the Super Nintendo. His parents had laid out some snacks and drinks on a party table, and there was one of those huge bags of party-sized Doritos there. We were playing Street Fighter when one of the guys grabbed a chip, bit into it, and yelled, "Ugh, this chip is wet." He began investigating the bag, and we discovered all the chips were wet. The birthday boy's 5-year-old little brother had taken advantage of a Street Fighter distraction and licked all of the Dorito dust from every chip and placed them back in the bag. We found him playing in his room, his face covered in the implicating dust. Oh, I was expecting him to like pee in it or something. That was, yeah. A couple of months ago, I went to my friend's party, which was joint with his flatmates. About 20 minutes after we got there, the housemates started banging on a glass with a fork, and one of my friends got everyone to quiet down, assuming it was a speech. The guy then says, "There are too many people here that I don't know," and told me and most of my friends to leave. He took us down to let us out, but couldn't unlock the front door, so we had to awkwardly stand there for 15 minutes until he found the housemate we were friends with and made him let us all out. Oh, wow. And your housemate that you didn't object to his friends getting kicked out of his own party? They obviously weren't that close of friends. I don't think he actually responds to that. I visited a buddy of mine at his college, and he invited me to his fraternity party. They forgot to send a social email to the sorority, so none of them showed up. This was supposed to be a huge party, so all the bros showed up hammered and angry at seemingly everyone that there was no girls. It was a toga party. 55 dudes, 0 girls, and 55 togas. Went to another college to visit some friends. I walked through the door and realized something's wrong. They were all drunk and watching some fat chick poop on the floor. I left 5 minutes later, still laughing hysterically. Oh my god, so you left 5 minutes later. So you watched her poop too? Well, you had already made the trip. Something's wrong. They're all drunk and watching a fat chick poop on the floor. I commend your punctuation. Excellent use of a colon. Oh, that's great. Friend told me about this corporate party held for clients he was at. Open bar, but pretty dull, with people being on their best behavior to smooge and make the clients feel important. It was open bar in the sense that employees were understood to hold their shit together. One very, very low on the totem pole employee got hammered drunk with one of their biggest clients and finger banged the hell out of her in the pool for like half an hour. Fired the following Monday. Probably worth it as he was making minimum wage. While this blew up, to clarify confusion, everyone at the company got an invite. Management was expected to go, and guys in this position don't usually go because it's work environment on the weekend. AKA not fun. He was new and probably thought party or did not give a fuck. My friend thought it was the latter. She was also drunk and not unattractive. So she was attractive. That's the guy you promote, not fire. Imagine the client's disappointment next time she visits the office. Backstory. We had a friend that liked to throw parties, but most of the people that showed up were underage, including me. I went to a few of his parties, but he lived in the dorm, and the parties got bigger and bigger, so my SO and I got sketched out and stopped going. Good thing, too, because the next one got busted. 50 underage people with 2 guys that were 21, the host and another friend. The host was charged and kicked out of the dorm, and everyone except the OF age friend had to go to student conduct. Fast forward a couple months, and he's thrown another party in his new apartment. I was living in the same complex, and my roommates and I decided we'd go. The host had hyped it up a bit. He had a Facebook page for his parties, and it was supposed to start at 10. Of course, we don't show up on time because that's uncool, and we get there around 11, after pre-gaming a bit. When we get there, there's techno music and lights in the window, but when the doors open, there's no one there but the host and a keg of shock top. It's just me, 3 friends I brought, and the lonely host. We tried to pick it up a bit by playing some drinking games, but the host was desperately texting everyone on his phone trying to get people to come, and not even paying attention to the 4 guests he did have. At one point, a few more people knocked on the door, but left when they saw it was empty. He ended up putting on Space Jam. We left about 30 minutes in because we couldn't take it in anymore. Edit. Talked to some coworkers and remembered this also happened another time. I worked at the same job. Before I started working there, 3 to 4 coworkers got stuck at a party in his dorm with a keg to themselves. Awkwardness ensued. Must have been bad if you left even though he put on Space Jam. Seriously, at that point I just get to watch Space Jam. I get an entire keg to myself. My buddy's girlfriend jerked off his dog while he was out back talking. She did it to prove she could get anyone or anything off. It was horrifying. Okay, that's gross. I think that's the end of it. That's the end of this for me.